The burning of Quran is not a form of freedom of thought and expression, while thousands protested against the action, and Malaysia Brunei to discuss issues on Islamophobia. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Muhammad Yusuf, and this is TVS Nightline. The freedom of expression and thought should not be confused with hate crimes and racism. Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu said it was unfathomable that the Swedish government prohibits the burning of books, but does not apply the same rule to Islam's holy book, the Quran.
Today, they do not allow the burning of another book, but when it comes to the Quran, Islam's holy book, and hostility to Islam, they immediately call it freedom of expression and freedom of thought. Hate crimes and racism are not freedom of thought. According to Swedish law, the decisions of the Council of Europe and the decisions of the European Court of Human Rights, hate crimes and racism are not freedom of thought or freedom of expression.
Swedish Foreign Minister Tobias Billström responded with concerns that the demonstration would risk further delays to Turkey's ratification of Sweden's bid to become a member of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, but added that it would be very inappropriate for him to not allow one person carry out a demonstration. Last year, Sweden, along with Finland, formally applied to become a member of NATO, abandoning decades of military non-alignment since the Ukraine-Russia conflict broke on February 24, 2022. But Turkey, who has been a member of NATO for over 70 years, objected against the inclusion of Sweden and Finland, as the two countries have allegedly tolerated and supported terror groups, including the Kurdistan Workers' Party (PKK) and the Fethullah Terrorist Organization, or FETÖ. Meanwhile, in the southeastern Turkish city of Batman, thousands have gathered to show how severe the act of burning Quran is, and that it is an attack against all Muslims in the world.
We are strongly condemning the act here. It is impossible for any Muslim to accept this. This is an attack against all Muslims.
If someone calling himself a politician in Sweden can burn Quran in front of the Turkish embassy, of course, the response to it will be people gathering in squares, but it's obvious that the proper reaction must come at the government level.
The man who conducted this attack will live with the fear of death until the end of his life. After this kind of disrespectfulness against Quran, he won't be able to sleep peacefully, as he gained the hatred of 3 billion Muslims and became their enemy.
The vile act was carried out by Rasmus Paludan, who is the leader of the Danish far-right political party called Hardline, just outside the Turkish embassy in Stockholm. Swedish Foreign Minister Tobias Billström also said that Islamophobic provocations were appalling. And Malaysia strongly condemns the burning of the Quran at a demonstration led by a Swedish far-right politician in Stockholm. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said immediate action must be taken against the politician Rasmus Paludan to check what he called an alarming rise of Islamophobia in Sweden.
Paludan, a Swedish-Danish politician from the far-right party Stram Kurs, burned the holy book at a demonstration held in front of the Turkey's embassy in the Swedish capital on Saturday. Following the incident, the Turkish government summoned the Swedish ambassador to express its disappointment. The action also drew the condemnation of various Muslim-majority countries. Now, in a Twitter post, Anwar said such a blatant defilement of Islam's holy book by the Swedish politician and the inaction are tantamount to fomenting Islamophobia and constitutes a grave provocation to the sensitivities of not just Turkey, but more than 2 billion Muslims in the world. He said Malaysia denounces the repeated hate crimes facing Muslims worldwide and expresses its concerns about the rising tide of hate speech based on faith or ethnicity. ANWAR also called upon the international community to reject race or religious baiting under the guise of freedom of expression and to remain united against all forms of incitement to hate and violence. Meanwhile, Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Zamri Abdul Kadir, in a statement, said Malaysia calls for the international community to resist Islamophobic sentiments and promote harmonious coexistence between individuals of different religions in the diverse global community. He added Malaysia will continue to work together with the international community to help prevent and eradicate any form of violence and hate towards Islam, including Islamophobic sentiments and extremism.
Now, following the vile action of a Swedish politician that incited Islamophobia, the issue, or rather the stigma, will be among the important matters that will be discussed when Malaysian leaders convene in Brunei Darussalam soon. This was clearly stated by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Datuk Seri Dr. Zamri Abdul Kadir, who will be accompanying Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim to Brunei.
Oleh kerana hal yang menyentuh kedudukan umat Islam di seluruh dunia apabila tindakan yang dilakukan oleh seorang ekstremis Rasmus Paludan ini, tentunya ia akan mencetuskan keprihatinan bagi di pihak Malaysia dan juga di pihak Brunei, dan yang itu saya akan bincang dengan rakan sejawat saya nanti.
The burning of the Quran, said Zamri, is indeed an act of violence, extreme and barbaric, and is not acceptable in any civilized country.
Ini merupakan tindakan yang melampaui batas persefahaman dan menghormati dalam kehidupan beragama di mana-mana saja di dunia ini, dan kita juga melihat ianya sebagai satu tindakan yang sangat jijik kerana apa yang berlaku, masalah dalaman Sweden dengan sebuah negara yang lain yang tidak sewajarnya membawa agama menjadi faktor pertikaian antara negara.
As of press time, his ministry has not received any worrying reports from Malaysians who are residing in Sweden following the incident. Now, the open house tradition is not only practiced in the home of the giving, but it has also become a normal practice during festive seasons of every race and religion. Senadin Assemblyman Datuk Seri Lee Kim Shin said such practice certainly strengthens the relationship and unity among members of the community. The tradition, he said, will create a society that lives in peace and harmony.
Sarawak selama ini memanglah telah menjadi satu contoh daripada perpaduan dan keharmonian rakyat kita yang terdiri daripada pelbagai kaum, agama dan budaya, ya, dan pemimpin-pemimpin Sarawak, ya, yang lepas dan sekarang pun mereka memang mengutamakan perpaduan dan keharmonian rakyat kita. Sebab itulah hari ini kita boleh melihat Sarawak mempunyai satu suasana kehidupan antara pelbagai masyarakat kita yang sangat baik sekali.
Sarawak's Transport Minister Datuk Seri Lee Kim Shin said Sarawak is expected to see an increase in tourist arrivals due to the increase in flight frequencies and the reopening of Brunei's borders. According to him, a total of 71 flights to Sarawak have been recorded in January prior to the Chinese New Year celebration.
Saya didapati bahawa kerana tahun ini kita juga telah mendapat banyak menambah penerbangan dari Kuala Lumpur, Johor, AK, Brunei ke Miri. Juga bilangan penerbangan pesawat yang terbang ke Sarawak kali ini bertambah, iaitu daripada 18 hari bulan Januari hingga 31 terdapat penambahan 71 flights penerbangan ke Sarawak. Ini adalah satu tanda yang baik. ini juga menunjukkan bahawa ekonomi kita akan dipulihkan, boleh dipulihkan tahun ini lah. Nampaknya ekonomi bertambah aktif sudah.
Commenting further, he said that the new airline companies, such as My Airlines, will also see additional flights to Sarawak, especially to the main cities, namely Kuching, Sibu and Miri.
Selain daripada itu, pada tahun ini juga bilangan penerbangan ke Sarawak juga akan terus bertambah kerana pesawat ataupun syarikat penerbangan baru seperti My Airline telah pun bermula terbang daripada KL ke Sarawak, ke Kuching, Sibu dan pada bulan Mac juga ke Miri, dan mengikut perancangan mereka juga akan mengerjakan penerbangan ke luar negeri, dan bilangan penerbangan ke Sarawak juga akan bertambah.
Kim Shin revealed that the number of visitors from Brunei has also increased. He further disclosed that Bruneians who travelled through the state through Sungai Tujuh showed an average of 2,000 cars per day, and the number of visitors increased to 3,000 on the weekends. On matters related to the Malaysia Agreement 1963, Kim Shin hopes that the negotiation regarding the agreement can be resolved under the unity government to claim back the rights and interests of Sarawak.
Di mana kita sedia maklum bahawa Premier Sarawak dan Kerajaan Sarawak memanglah memberi perhatian berat untuk mendapat segala hak-hak yang telah diambil ataupun terhakis dikembalikan kepada Sarawak, dan telah beberapa aspeknya telah pun tercapai, tetapi masih lagi ada tinggal yang masih dalam perundingan, dan kita berharaplah MA apa-apa perkara yang buat MA 63 itu semuanya akan dapat diselesaikan di bawah kerajaan perpaduan kali ini.
He told this when met by reporters during the Chinese New Year celebration open house at Datuk Permaisuri's Hall on Monday.
The Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, MOTAC, is targeting the arrival of 5 million tourists from China this year, compared to 3.1 million in 2019. Its Minister, Datuk Sri Tiong King Sing, said the target was set following China's decision to reopen its borders on January 8th after 3 years of strict restrictions following the COVID-19 pandemic.
Itu sekarang dia sudah buka untuk grupnya. Grupnya sudah buka, dia orang boleh memohon sudah keluar daripada negeri China pergi pelancong 20 negara, termasuklah Malaysia is one of the 20 country. Saya ucap terima kasihlah kepada negeri China bagi peluang sama Malaysia, dan kita sama-sama on win-win situation on the tourists.
He said that the target was expected to be achieved as China has allowed group tour services to 20 countries, including Malaysia, to resume on February 6. The other 19 countries listed are Thailand, Indonesia, Cambodia, Maldives, Sri Lanka, Philippines, Singapore, Laos, United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Kenya, South Africa, Russia, Switzerland, Hungary, New Zealand, Fiji, Cuba, and Argentina. Tiong also assured that every Chinese tourist will undergo a COVID-19 screening test in their country before coming to Malaysia, and urged all Malaysians to continue to prioritize their own health and maintain standard operating procedures (SOP) to curb the spread of the disease. Previously, the Malaysian Association of Tour and Travel Agents MATA was reported to have said it had complete faith in the Ministry of Health to manage the arrival of Chinese tourists, just as they did with other travellers from around the world.
Now, a busy schedule did not prevent our Sarawak Premier, Datuk Patinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg, from accepting Chinese New Year open house invitations this year. On the second day of the celebration today, he visited several prominent leaders around Kuching, and the excitement at the open houses was clearly visible as people from the various racial and religious backgrounds could be seen attending the event.
The first Chinese New Year open house that Abang Johari visited was the open house of Batu Kitang Assemblyman Loh Ker Chiang at his residence in Stapo Avenue, Batu Kawa. Abang Johari was accompanied by the Minister of Utilities and Telecommunications, Datuk Julahi Narawi, and the Deputy Minister at the Department of the Premier of Sarawak, Legal, MA63 and State Federal Relations, Datuk Sharifah Hasidah Syed Aman Ghazali, and they arrived at Loh's residence courtyard around 1:20 p.m. After his visit to Ker Chiang, Abang Johari continued his open house visit to Kuching South City Council and BKS Mayor Datuk Wee Hong Sang. He and his entourage then proceeded to the Chinese New Year open house event of the Deputy Premier of Sarawak, Datuk Sri Dr. Sim Kui Hian, at around 2:40 p.m. Apart from that, he also did not miss the opportunity to fulfill the invitation of the State Security and Enforcement Unit UKPN's Director, Datuk Dr. Chai Kin Chung. Abang Johari's open house visits in conjunction with the Chinese New Year celebration on the second day concluded after he visited the UKPN's Director at around 4:30 p.m.
On to our next news, the Padawan Municipal Council MPP is prepared for any eventual flood, especially during the current monsoon season. Its chairman, Loh Ker Chiang, said his council will work with the Department of Irrigation and Drainage, DID Sarawak, in clearing the drains.
The council, all these years, we have our own backhaul, so we clear our drains wherever we can. Together with the help of DID. DID clear the big drains, we clear the smaller drains. So we have been clearing, and I would like to thank our people as well, our residents, our rakyat, yang selalu membawa isu ini kepada kami.
He said this to reporters at his open house event at Jalan Stapo, Batu Kawa on Monday. He added, flood is an unavoidable issue, but the council is prepared with the establishment of an agency led by the residence office.
Kita risau adalah hujan banyak hebat dalam 15 minit. Itu parit tidak cukup besar. Jadi flooding occur. Itu yang selalu bikin orang susah lah.
Earlier, Loh's open house was attended by Premier Datuk Patinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg.
The Malaysian Meteorological Department, or Met Malaysia, today has raised the continuous rain warning level in several areas in Sabah until this Wednesday to danger. In a statement today, Met Malaysia said the danger level warning of continuous heavy rain is expected in Telupit, Kinabatangan, Beluran, Sandakan, Pitas and Kudat.
Met Malaysia also issued a bad level continuous heavy rain in Tambunan, West Coast, Lahad Datu and Kota Merudu areas, and an alert level warning of continuous rain warning in Tonggod. Apart from that, continuous heavy rain bad level warning is forecast in Sarawak, including Kuching, Serian, Samarahan, Betong, Serikei, Maradong, Muka and Bintulu, as well as in Johor. Continuous rain alert level warning is also expected in Sarawak, involving Sri Aman, Pakan, Julau, Sibu, Tatau, Sabah, Subis, Beluru, Miri and Marudi. In an earlier statement this morning, Met Malaysia issued a continuous rain warning bad level in several areas in Sabah, Terengganu, Pahang, Johor and Sarawak.
Coming up right after the break, Malaysia can progress if corruption is eradicated, said Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, and Lunar New Year celebration in California turns dark after an elderly opened fire at a dance studio. Right here on TVS Nightline, stay tuned. This is TVS Nightline. Now, Malaysia has the potential to rise as the Asian tiger it once was if the practice of stealing the nation's wealth through corruption is stopped altogether. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said political leaders, high-level civil servants or enforcement agencies must put an end to corrupt practices.
Saya tidak akan bertolak ansur lagi dengan sikap orang yang menggunakan kontrak atau projek dan mengambil kesempatan untuk mencari kekayaan yang bukan hak mereka.
He said this in his speech at Chief Minister Chow Kon Yeow's Chinese New Year open house in Georgetown today. Meanwhile, Anwar said Malaysians must have the courage to reject racism, corruption and abuse of power. Anwar is confident that the country will be able to achieve progress within a short time like never before if there is a strong spirit of unity among the people to say no to unethical practices.
Sabah is now on the right track, with the state government having done its best to make the Sabah Maju Jaya Development Plan a success in advancing the state, said Sabah Chief Minister Datuk Seri Haji Noor today. He hoped that the state government and the people in Sabah will continue to unite and focus on fulfilling the state's development agenda.
Apa yang kita capai ini adalah berkat kerjasama dan dasar mesra pelabur kerajaan negeri. Saya yakin jika kita urus negeri kita ini dengan baik, dengan berkesan, kita boleh membawa Sabah ini maju ke depan. Bukan lagi negeri yang nombor 2 termiskin di Malaysia. Saya memberi jaminan bahawa kita akan angkat negeri Sabah ini dalam beberapa tahun lagi sebagai sebuah negeri yang maju.
Hajiji said if the people and the government continue to unite and focus on fulfilling the state's development agenda, Sabah will continue to increase its revenue collection and investments, which exceeded 6.6 billion ringgit and 33.4 billion ringgit, respectively, last year. Regarding this year's Chinese New Year, which is designated as the Year of the Rabbit, he said that the rabbit in the Chinese zodiac is associated with peace, prosperity and longevity. He thanked the Chinese community for their support and cooperation in helping the state government to develop Sabah and improve the well-being of the people. Earlier, Sabah DAP chairman Dato' Frankie Poon Ming Fung said political stability in Sabah seemed to have improved under the Hajiji-led unity government.
Now on to some global news. Celebrations turned into tragedy in California when an elderly man killed 10 people and severely injured 10 others at a ballroom dance studio while the attendees were fully immersed in the Lunar New Year mood. The suspect, known as Hu Chan Tran, fled the scene after the mass shooting. However, about 34 kilometers from where the shooting took place, Hu gunned himself down when police successfully pinned him down after a hot pursuit.
Los Angeles County Sheriff Robert Luna said the motive of the mass shooting was not yet known as investigations are still ongoing.
You've been asking me about motive. We still are not clear on the motive. The investigation continues, and that is something we are all extremely, we want to know. We want to know how something like this, something this awful can happen. We're still in the process of identifying all the victims. We will have that information as the days go on. We're still in the process of identifying all the victims. We will have that information as the days go on.
Victims were split into 5 males and 5 females, while their identities were kept private as of press time. Authorities also released images of the suspect taken from surveillance cameras, which showed him wearing a pair of glasses, a dark jacket, and a white strip headgear. U.S. Democratic Congresswoman Judy Chu is greatly concerned over the occurrence of mass shootings in the district and calls for an intervention by authorities over the ownership of firearms.
Unfortunately, I have now become a member of the club of members of Congress who've had a mass shooting in their districts. It has been happening on a daily basis now, and we can barely keep count of these mass shootings. Something has to be done. We have to stop having the availability of these assault weapons on the streets, so that it's so easy for somebody to just walk into an establishment and shoot people and ruin their lives.
The occurrence of mass shootings in the U.S. has greatly increased in recent years. The shooting took place on Sunday, January 22nd, Malaysian time, at an area where many downtown streets are closed for festivities that draw thousands of people from across Southern California. Upcoming celebrations that had been planned out earlier were cancelled immediately, putting an end to a weekend that was supposed to be joyful for the people in Monterey City.
Feels very gloomy. I'm pretty sure all our hearts are heavy, and I'm very happy to see the community come together. However, it's under a bad circumstance. So.
See the world closer with TVS as we bring you the latest news updates, both locally and internationally, just a click away by heading on to our website at www.tvstv.my or by following us on our social media platforms. And that's all the time we have for tonight's TVS Nightline. Once again, I'm Muhammad Yusuf. Assalamualaikum and Kongsi Fa Chai.